This is from Picard. I haven't watched it. I just watched an episode of Trekyards that was made about an hour ago. It's one of my, as an autistic person, it's how I stem. One of the ways. One of the ways that I'm still capable of. Now, I also play Star Trek Online, and because of my stepfather, Michael Scott Wade, he was in the Air Force. That has nothing to do with why I like Star Trek. The original series, that man was so in love and infatuated with the original series. I just couldn't help but pick up upon his passion. The Defiant is, bar none, my least favorite ship of any Federation ship. It's not right. It looks like you took a Romulan bird of prey and chopped the wings off. Boom, Defiant. Looks like you superglued a little bit of balsa to the back of it. Boom, you got a Defiant. Alright. So, Season 3, I guess, is where this Defiant comes from that they're talking about. So it would have been a Sao Paulo refit. You notice my eyes do weird things. I do apologize. I have Tourette syndrome. Not trying to be a jerk. Alright, so let's get back to Geordi Laforges' ship. It didn't start off as Geordi's. It started off as the brainchild of somebody else, Benjamin Sisko. So then, Benjamin Sisko, he's got this massive ore yard for processing at his disposal. He's got starships coming in from all over the place. He's got massive quantities of alien technology at his disposal, and lo and behold, as much as I got to give Geordi LaForge his due, he is one of the greatest minds in the Star Trek universe, but O'Brien is probably by far the most unsung mastermind. So what we're talking about is we're talking about different types of commanders and different people who are continually upgrading the ship. It doesn't stay the same ship. It's constantly being upgraded. It's being upgraded for every mission. It's mission pod capable. And a lot of the stuff that you see in some of the different models that the guys from Trekyards complain about, these are different mission pods with different purposes. That nose on the front of the Defiant, you can put on different noses for different purposes. You can also refit it, which is what they continually did. And it wasn't just refits, it was just upgrade after upgrade after upgrade. You are constantly seeing them in the Defiant. Now, it wasn't just Benjamin Sisko going in there and playing with his own ship and utilizing the dock space, the massive shipyard that they had at their disposal. I mean, this thing was not just an ore processing unit. Plus, you've got different people that Starfleet is starting to be friends with and buddies with at this point in time. You start seeing parts of it that are raised up that didn't used to be. Well, that's more ablative plating. You're going to put plating where you're more likely to get hit or where it's more likely to do damage. You also might put a different type of plating over different portions of your hull that are susceptible to your opponent's weaponry. You might try what the Germans did, which they spent probably about 1/3 of their military budget doing this. They outfitted their stuff so that it couldn't be taken out by their own stuff. Stuff that nobody else used. I mean, Zimmerit is just one example of this. With a bleak and blank Starfleet ship that's basically set up to be a run-of-the-mill, we're going to take a dozen of these and run them at a Borg cube, to now you've got to fight the Dominion, you got to fight shapeshifters, you also have to find a way to be able to replicate huge things in outer space. You've also got to be able to integrate different alien technologies, which is a very cool thing, but it's also going to have an effect on your ship and on its shape. Plus, you've got ablative armor, ablative plating. One way to explain this is, let's say you take a whole bunch of ceramic discs and they're all slightly domed on one side, just slightly. Now you put down a whole bunch of ceramic slue, which is basically a pudding, and you set them all on top of each other. If you shoot that with something, it's going to hit one of those little discs and it's going to slide it out of there. That's kind of the concept. Now you've also got different technologies, like once you start encountering the brain, you're going to want to be able to do something about that dissipation of energy crap. So whether it works or not, you're still going to be adapting the ship. You're going to adapt it for at least the sake of trying it. And when you're Benjamin Sisko, you've got that whole system right there at your disposal, and then you've got Nerys coming in. And she's got to do her stuff. She's got some very special Bajoran ideas that she's got, and they have to integrate that technology, do they not? That makes it a very, very special ship. I believe that they screwed up by not making it more outwardly different in the first set. The first set of uses, I should say. Because later on they did adapt it a lot more on the exterior. But also you get to see that there's changes, some pretty major changes that are made to the interior of it over time. And then you want to talk about the Sao Paulo and Sao Paulo refit and a lot of the stuff that they did with that. I believe the Defiant is a great ship. I also believe that the adaptations, the fact that it does have so many different variants just to the exterior that you can see, that a lot of Trekkies look at and go, man, that's not supposed to be how it looks. It's supposed to look like this. It's supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like this. No, it's not. If you look at the USS Missouri today versus when it was first built, it does not look the same. It looks very similar. It's one of the battleships that has been actually changed the least since World War II. Most were decommissioned. Now, the Defiant's not meant as a battleship. This is a torpedo runner kind of vehicle. This is a... How would I describe it? It would be like the Fletcher in World War II, or the Johnston. I mean, these are powerful ships in their own right, but they got no business standing up to cruisers and heavyweights like battleships, such as the Yamato. Largest battleship ever built. Massive, massive boat. So, although this is off topic from what I usually bring up, and the anger and the hatred and the gurr that you guys all expect from me, I just wanted to take a look at the Defiant and explain my take on it, because, you know, through the Dominion War, and then you got Worf. This is a battlefield commander, all right? This is a guy who is going to have his ship built for ramming. This is what he thinks about every day. For the glory of the Empire. Ramming speed. All right, I might have done that in more of an Optimus Prime kind of voice. But, you know, when you do stuff like that, you've got a ship that's heavily damaged, and then you're going to repair it. You're going to want to upgrade it and outfit it with the most modern technology anyway, because if you're gonna bother with not just straight up scrapping it, you might as well streamline it and make it as modern as possible. If you got better ideas from the Daystrom Institute, by all means put them on there. Then we got to consider that by Picard Season 3, it's not just those people who have been involved. You've got, what, 2 decades, I believe, worth of advancements in Starfleet technology. These may be museum ships, but they're going to have at least some technologies integrated, because that is still part of the... Hold on a second. something shipyard. I'm trying to remember. There's still active Starfleet ships. Their warp cores are still intact. They can still be powered up and run and utilized. The Defiant, Geordi Laforge having access to that and getting to play with that and tinker with it and being in charge of all of that, that's a glorious thing to behold. That means that he has been able to look at all those ships in their glory, but also to be able to, as he probably would, go through and make sure that at least their defensive systems are modernized from any sort of electronic attack. Now, obviously, most of them are just going to remain, obviously, inactive. They're not going to be upgraded to the max unless that's the way that they were taken off the line when they were retired. But you've also got a lot of ships like the Constitution class. How many of y'all expected to see an original series Connie? I was. I thought the fact that they had an A variant was kind of sad. It takes away from the original series and all that it pushed on us, but I also understand with all of the commercial rights and everything like that, how they would not want to go with the original series ship and could not, for obviously stupid legal reasons, use any of the ones from Star Trek Online that are darn close. And how many of y'all would be satisfied or happy if it was a Kelvin Timeline one? I mean, really. So, as far as the Defiant goes, I don't know what Geordi Laforge would have done with it. And you guys know there's a lot of stories in there in the books that aren't considered canon. You also know that there's a lot of weapons that surprisingly the Defiant was able to shrug off as if it was almost nothing. By the time they took it off the line, especially considering that they were not old ships by any means, they would probably still be in active service while Geordi Laforge had one at his shipyards. His shipyards, it's his museum. He's in charge. So, it is nice to see some old friends like the HMS Bounty. Of course, I only get to see this stuff from YouTube because I'm a hobo in a vehicle. But I think the Kelvin Timeline cloaking device that they had in there was stupid. I do want to put that in there. That's not a Klingon or Romulan cloaking device that they had there, for certainly not of the right era. Other than that, good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's, and no victim left behind.